You may have noticed I haven't really done much for the last few weeks, video-wise, just odds and sods. And that's principally because we've been out of parts, mainly like one or two crucial parts. So what's been happening is that I've got a job to do to create two LT230s with higher ratios and some heavy-duty parts. However, we wanted the customer stipulated that he wanted some heavy-duty output shafts that was available from Ashcroft. However, they've been on back order since November. So as soon as they came in the shop, we went for them. But there was a little bit of a twist, because we also wanted the intermediate shafts, and by the time we wanted to order the output shafts, the intermediate shafts were out of stock. So then we had to go to Synchro Gearboxes to get the shafts. But there was a twist with that, which I'll tell you about later. The shafts are made out of 300M steel, which is supposed to be a bit stronger. Will it be? I don't know. Why are we making these boxes? Well, because he's going to put one of those big 6-litre GM V6s in front of the transfer case, and the standard 1.2 ratio, well, the 1.2 ratio isn't quite enough. And according to Dave Ashcroft, he said that the 1.1003, or is it 1.03, I don't know, would be a better solution. So we ordered the parts and they all came the other day. The parts came for the Series 3 box. Some of the parts for the overdrive are still waiting to come from Craddock's. I'm very disappointed with Craddock's. They are really slow on the uptake. They say they've got stuff in stock, but I don't think they have, and that's just my opinion, because they wait weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'm still waiting for a part for my Series 1 engine that they said they have in stock. 5 weeks now. So that's why my Series 1 engine's not been done. God, we took that out months ago. Anyway, less of this rambling. What's in the box and your loss? Well, here we are. There's the box of stuff we've got. You can see instantly that we've got a higher capacity sump for the LT230. Yeah, it's a high capacity sump, but it's not that high, is it? I mean, it's okay, but it's not that high. But the interesting thing is it's finned at the bottom, and this is a good thing because these transfer boxes get bloody hot. It's also got a little boss in there at the bottom, so you could put a drain or a temperature sender in there without going through the casing. The casings are pretty thin, but they've taken the liberty to put a little bit of extra aluminium in the bottom. So that's good, but anything's going to help for the heat generated by these LT230s. They do get bloody hot. Okay, so anyway, that's good. We've got that bit. Bearings, they go without saying. All quality Timken bearings. I'm just going to pack them up down here. You'll probably see them later, but there's no point. A bearing's a bearing, isn't it? You've seen them all. So we've got quality bearings. That's that done. Now, we've also got some high-low sill. Now, this comes apparently in white and black, but it doesn't really say, well, it might just say what the colour is, but they put a sticky label over the end of it here. Anyway, we can't do anything about that. What else have we got? We've got seals. We should have 3 seals. Again, they're good quality Cortico seals. They're not cheap and nasty Chinese ones. Mind you, the cheap and nasty Chinese ones are coming up there. Now we get to the bones of our bits. Alright, so this is the shaft we've been waiting for. This is an M300 output shaft. What's different with it? Well, dimensionally is correct, but it's the material it's made out of. and you can see it's sort of like a blue finish. You can see that. Interesting. It's a lovely finish, I must admit. But obviously Ashcrofts are getting them in from somewhere. But anyway, at least we've got one. 4 bloody months waiting for that. We've got a heavy duty cross piece to go in the centre differential. While we're there, I've already rebuilt the differentials. We've seen us do that before, but we built the differentials up and shimmed them, so hopefully when we put this in, it shouldn't really affect the shimming that I've already done. I should be able to just open it, pop that in, and away we go. So that's one thing. Why do I choose Ashcrofts to get my parts, not Synchro gearboxes? Because they do these little kits here with the shims in. Let's see if I can open the packet up. These are sort of essential when you're doing a rebuild, because if you haven't got access to Land Rover, a supplier for the factory type shims, you're going to be stuck. There's two. There's one for the input gear and one for the differential. You can see here how one shim's just sort of jumped the pack and it's got very thin, but by using the shims in a combination you can get the backlash or end float absolutely spot on. So that's it. And of course when you're building up transmissions, as a lot of them that I do, I always get stuck with a lot of bits left over, but I can't use them because it's that essential shim that's missing. So anyway, that's that. So it's a good idea to order a shim kit. Are they expensive? I don't know, but I think they're about $35 or something like £35 or something like that. But you know, when you're miles away from anywhere and you want to get a shim, you've got to wait to get one from Land Rover, and it could be the wrong one. Now this is where we get to the nitty gritty of stuff. We've got the gears in the box here. This is a 1 to 1.103 ratio. It comes with the intermediate gear, and these are bloody heavy. You know, no wonder those little intermediate shafts have a struggle with a bearing. So we've got that. I'll put it on a bit of plastic there. And this is where it gets really, really expensive, because when they do the kit, this and this, and a few bits, no, not that bit, this bit here, which consists of, let's open the bag. So you get a new locking nut, you get a locking ring for the differential, 2 O-rings, and a collapsible tube. Now I think on this instance I might just do the solid tubes. I don't think I'll do the collapsible tube. JP and I have discussed this quite a long time about these collapsible tubes, and we've noticed that when we've taken things apart, the bearings tend to tip a little bit. This isn't, when it collapses, it doesn't collapse even. There should have been a little ring round the middle, like an expansion, just like the centre, like the rear differential, the Salisbury. So when you collapse this, it collapses parallel. This has got a chance of kicking over, and we've noticed that, and that's probably why Land Rover went to a solid tube. So how are we going to calculate that? Well, we've been working on stuff and we came up with this. This is our funky gizmo for setting the shim in, you know, collapsible tube and the shim. We can clamp this in the vise. We've got, this is just a replication of the transfer case, so we can clamp this in the vise and we can tighten down the shaft until it's collapsing and we get the right torque on here, that in Newton meters. Pretty clever, eh? So what I can do now is I can go down to JP's shop, clamp that in his vise and work out the tensions of the shim. Oh, will this madness never end? So that's that. That's one little kit there. But like I say, this goes with this, but this is where it gets really complicated, and just you've got to be warned if you want to do these conversions. It's the teeth here on the kit are designed for the newer TD5 type boxes, not the older boxes. So if you're going to want to convert an old box like we've got, you've got to upgrade these. Now just let me pause a minute and I'll go and get another one to show you what it looks like. Right, here we go. It depends on the teeth here, how wide they are. We're going to measure them up in a minute, but if I hold one for comparison, you can see the newer one is a thinner tooth. What's the big deal, Mike? Well, you need a lot of corresponding parts. In a minute I'll measure these teeth up, but what it means is, if you've got the thick teeth on your gear here, it's not going to work. You will need to have a low range gear with the similar small teeth and a hub, this thing here, selector hub, which is, I think it's 54mm. There's two sizes, it's 54 and 58mm. But you've got to have this with a corresponding teeth size here. Now this is really mega expensive. Like I say, I'll put down below here what the prices of these parts are, but they're not cheap. It beggars belief why everybody wants to change ratios on sort of older vehicles and that stuff, that we're only stuck with gear teeth patterns that are for, you know, like TD5 onwards, really. I don't know, there'll be method in the madness, they've done the homework, but you need a lot of corresponding bits. Now, you can see here I've got a new input gear. Why? Why didn't I use the old input gear? Well, the input gear seemed to be pretty good, but we had two different ratios. So I wasn't going to mess about, just get a new one. And also, when you've got these gears, old gears meshing with new gears, they can be a bit noisy or they can be a bit backlashy. So it makes sense to put new gears with new gears. Now I like to save my customers money, but I also like to save them a lot of time and effort. You know, because you just don't want to pull that box out and find out there's something else that you need. It's noisy. Again, with the kit, we get another locking ring, another nut, another collapsible tube. We get some brass rings. Oh, let's open it up. I said brass, I think they're bronze. So we've got another tube. We've got some shims. It's only two. I mean, I don't know if they're going to work or not, but I don't know if they're the right size, because these are the ones that come in different thicknesses. We've done shimming before. I did say shimming. We've got a selection of O-rings here for, oops, put that down. Well, we've got another collapsible tube. We've got a selection of O-rings that are for the diff lock, all the bits and pieces that you need. You know, they've got your high and low range O-rings and stuff like that, and one tiny one here for the speedo outlet. So that's good. I'm going to put that back in the box before I forget them. And of course we've got another locking ring. Oh, there's another O-ring, yet another one. We've got these bronze washers that go for the centre differential. We've got 4 of them. We've got 2 felt washers and another locking ring. But, and this is, I've had a go at David, well, I didn't have a go at David, but I've mentioned it to him before, that why don't we get these things here, just back in the tick. Why don't we get 2 nuts to go on the end of the shaft, 2 brand new nuts? you know, sourcing these in Canada is not the easiest things, but you can get them. But I import them from sort of LR Direct, and get them in packets of 10 because they're not, like I said, they're not the easiest things to find. They are the same size. They're 30mm across flats. I think they're the same size as your radius arms, but they don't, for some reason, they don't put them into the kit. Now, also in the kit is something absolutely useless. We get a set of gaskets. I never use the gaskets, and again, if you want to get the gasket set from Ashcroft's, it's 25 quid just on its own. But I don't really need all these paper gaskets. I never put them back on, so I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, that's it. So we've got a hell of a lot of parts, and we've got a lot of things to get through. But, oh yes, I was going to measure the teeth, wasn't I? Now I'm looking around frantically for my measuring thing. Here it is. Whatever it's called. Right. Now, this is important. So what we're going to do is measure the thickness of the tooth at the top so you can understand what it's all about. We've got 2.84mm on the old one. On the new one is 1.59. So there's a tremendous difference. And the thing is, as I was trying to explain earlier, that if you've got your selector hub like this, they won't go together. These big teeth won't go in here, and correspondingly, this is why we had to get the low range gear, because the original low range gear has got the same thick tooth, the same thick teeth pattern. So that will actually go like that. If you use the old selector hub, it'll be chattery. Okay, so it'll be a lot of back. So you've got to get all these parts together. All right. So that's what you need. It's an expensive job. And I think, I can't remember if I did a video on it earlier about importing a box from Ashcroft, and it is expensive. A standard box cost a fortune to come into Canada because you've got to pay a core charge, which was about £310 for a core charge for a box. Well, of course we can't, because we can't send it back. And the shipping was about £350, so you can imagine it gets expensive. And that was just for a standard box. If you want all these goodies in, it's going to get expensive. Now, let's have a quick look at the input shaft from Synchro gearboxes, because we found out something very interesting. Sorry about that. We've had a problem with the camera. The old Canon seems to have died, no matter how many batteries you put into it. So we can't do a two-camera thing now, so we're stuck. So let's explain why we had a problem with the Synchro M300M shafts. We didn't have a problem with the materials as such, but we had a problem with this end here. Now, JP, when he makes my bushings, I'll tell you how he does it. He machines out the casting and then makes a bush to fit the casting, because obviously he doesn't want to machine a great load out of it, but they are pretty accurate and they work quite well. But before he grinds out the centre bore here, or machines it out, whatever he does, he needs to have the dimensions of this piece here. He makes them custom fit. And the problem with that was that we couldn't get hold of even a standard shaft. We couldn't get one. So Ashcroft's didn't have the 300Ms in, but Synchro's did. But when he was miking up this piece here to go into here, what he found was that it wasn't even. And if you can see on here, when I turn this round, you can see where there's a big flat spot on there. When you look at here, there's a flat spot here, but it's machined here. And the other one, well, that was even more bizarre. If you can see it when you turn it round, you can see where we just touched it with the grinder and it went funny. So I'll put a little video in here of when we were machining it. But
yeah. 4,000. Shaft's good. Oui, mais lui est pas sans avec lui. Non?
J'ai 3/4 de millième ici.
Mhm.
Et ici, j'ai
Ça c'est 4?
1,
Non, non, 5.
2, 3, 4.
4.
On voit qu'il y avait une grosse bosse.
Ouais.
Mais il est comme...
Oui, c'est croche un peu sur le langue, là.
Ouais. Weird. Il part là, il réapparaît là. Là, je ne veux pas les toucher là. Si je vais toucher là, ça va sauter énormément. Je ne veux pas les toucher là.
Machining it. But once they were machined and corrected, they fitted perfectly. You know, there was no problem with that at all. That's going to go in there really snug once it's got the O-ring in. But this one won't fit because, like I say, we make them custom fit. You know, so they're nice and tight. Anyway, that's a little bit about the parts and bits and pieces we need. Looks like I'm going to be busy today, not only putting these transfer cases together, but trying to find another camera. I got used to doing the 2-camera system, and I'm just working on different sounds and stuff like this. I've had nothing but problems with these bloody things here, these little Samaronic microphones. The sound's all over the place. So this one's just using the camera sound, and I'll see if I can enhance it a little bit. Alright, so see you later.